If you want to make a name for yourself here, then this is the place to start. The 2006 Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series. Round one kicks off with a roar here on the streets of Adelaide. 34 teams, the biggest field ever. 7 rounds, Holden versus Ford. There'll be triumph.
Canto claims the championship in 2005. Well done.
There'll be tragedy.
Oh, wow. Oh, Porter's gone, and they touch big.
Last year's series winner, Dean Canto, has stepped up to the main game. There's plenty that want to follow in his footsteps.
This year it's do or die sort of thing, so yeah, we're looking forward to it. The championship's going to be a lot tougher this year, I think. There's a lot more cars, and you know, it's going to be fantastic.
Gives us a good stepping stone if we plan to go to the main series. You know, last year we had the extra 100 kilos, and this year the cars are identical. So it's a really good evaluation of the drivers and the team to see how they're going against the main guys here.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. You know, it's been a long time in my career to try and get to this level, so now it's just a case of putting it all together and making the most of it.
This is one of my dreams, to get into one of these cars. I'm grateful for the opportunity to step up into it.
Consistently, most of the people that have won the championship in this have gone on to the main game. So it is. I mean, a lot of the main game guys, they look upon this as a stepping stone into that because it's the same car a couple of years older. So they've really got to make sure that you've got a hand on these things before they're going to put you into the main game. So, yeah, it's good.
Round one, race one, the streets of Adelaide. On pole, Mark Porter. Mark, great drive.
Yeah, thanks a lot there, Mark. It's been a really great team effort all round, and I'd like to thank Phil Curtis, and he's got all this together for us, so it's really good.
You've got to be careful out there, though, mate. A very tight and twisting and treacherous circuit.
Yeah, it certainly can turn ugly really quick here, as everyone knows. So, you know, we just got to try and stay clean and keep it clean, yeah.
Mark switching brands again. More recently, he's campaigned Fords in this series, but now driving the car that Four Wheel campaigned out of the Super Cheap Auto team in the early part of 2005. Porter behind the wheel of a Commodore. Tony D'Alberto, an ex-HSV dealer team Commodore. Cam McConville would perhaps have expected him to qualify maybe a row further forward.
Yeah, he got out late on his second set of tyres on an oily track, so thinks that he can go better, and he's quite happy with the race balance of his car.
Biggest talking point, we should welcome also the young Kiwi Chris Pither. He will be one to watch as the season progresses. Marcus Liddell, one of 3 cars prepared by the Dick Johnson Racing team for this one. Young Jack Perkins, who we've heard from. Nathan Pretty had some dramas in the build-up to this as well.
Yes, lost an oil line off the engine of that car, so again, only 3 flying laps, or really 1 quick lap, so he's a little bit further back. We'll have to see if he can carve his way through this field.
Number of drivers in this field still learning how to lean on the Dunlop control tyre and get the most of it from the diagnosis post-qualifying. A lot of them feel that they are still not getting the best out of the green tyre at this stage. Biggest talking point in the field, though, is the brilliant repair job for Adam Macro. Grant Denyer carrying one of our many onboard cameras in this championship, the Dexion on board with Tony Evangelou, the car that Jason Bright campaigned with Ford Performance Racing last year. Point I was going to make about Macro, big clout at turn 8, and that team has had a lot of work to do, and brilliant job to get him so far up the grid. Set for a start here in 2006. Porter versus Matthew White on the front row. Held them for quite a while there. Maximum revs, away we go. Michael Caruso has struggled in the Decina Racing Falcon to get some traction off the line, and Wayne Wakefield has pounced there, but already White assumes the ascendancy. He's the race leader through the centre chicane for the first time. Porter on the inside, trying to fend off a fast-starting Tony D'Alberto.
Mark Porter actually started on the grid there on a bit of an angle. The car wasn't straight, and I'm not sure whether that contributed, but he got a lot of wheel spin off the line. He launched pretty well, but then certainly lost a lot of momentum as we go on board with Adam Macro. Car 27, as you said, Rusty, quite a big hit with the wall earlier in the weekend, so the team has done an excellent job to repair that car, and we'll have to see whether it's hurt any of his race pace.
Here's the setting sun we're talking about. Not an issue at this point of the track off the exit of turn 7 and on the run down to 8, but certainly drivers need to be very mindful of it. They'll have the tinted visors on today for the front straight. That's where it'll be the most difficult. To the left-hand side, the Whittaker's Commodore, the Mark Petch entered Commodore of Kane Scott, the Kiwi, former Trans Am ace. That car You can tell by its shape or design is a former Team Dynamic Commodore, and Oscar Fiorinotto is the engineer for that team.
The sun's going to be a big problem, not so much here, but up into turn 4 when they go through the chicane there and up the hill. The sun will be right in their eyes until it drops just a little bit lower later in this race.
Good strong showing by Marcus Liddell early in this race, the youngster driving for Dick Johnson Racing, and he's at the wheel of the car that Will Davison drove in the Development Series race so successfully at Queensland Raceway last year. So that old AU has been quite a successful rocket for DJR. There it is. Grant Denyer, though, the best of their competitors at the moment. The Kangaloota's entry is young Chris Pither. And that's the area you're talking about there, Cam. Wayne Wakefield perhaps even struggling through that right-hander. Oh, he just fends off Michael Caruso. Caruso renewing his association with Jim Morton. Caruso, a very successful go-karter in his younger days. Successful also in the Australian Formula 3 Championship. Has sat out motor racing for the better part of 12 months, but Morton has brought him back. That team has relocated to Sydney, the Decina Falcon, a former Russell Ingall Falcon, and he's driving superbly. Good debut.
He's adapted well to a V8 supercar. Very, very different beast to drive to a Formula 3 or a Formula Ford open wheeler machine, but this is going to be tricky conditions here because they're not going to be able to read the grip level very well. As we see, Evangelou right down the inside is near Denyer.
Mark Porter ahead of D'Alberto.
The black flag for Porter, black flag Porter, and just take it easy, mate.
Now, Cam McConville, it's difficult to tell whether that's Warren Davis, Adam Macro's engineer, or perhaps Tony D'Alberto's engineer, but obviously warning them. So this sounds like maybe a jump start scenario here.
I'd say that it will be for creeping or something of a start line infringement because we really haven't seen him do anything wrong other than that. So I'd say that would have been telling D'Alberto, just be patient, don't take any risk because this lap is going to peel in front of you anyway.
On board with Grant Denyer now, tentative through turn 8 there.
Yeah, quite slow mid-corner, but it's had a big go right down the outside, and Kane Scott's going to give him room, although Scott's still hanging in on the inside. This is looking out Evangelou's car, but Denyer makes up the spot.
Grant knows that he needs to piece this championship together this year by scoring as many points as possible, so we can certainly forgive him for just taking it easy through turn 8. On board with Chris Pither now, the Kangaloota's Falcon.
This guy's going to be exciting. I think he was very exciting to watch in other Formula coming out. And Verdnick goes down the inside of him at the moment, so he's going to lose out there. But he completed about 600 kilometres of testing in the off-season to get used to a V8 supercar, and I think he'll be one to watch.
Yep, you're right. 2 separate days of testing for Pither at Queensland Raceway. And is that bodywork maybe rubbing on a tyre there, or some dramas? Marcus Liddell chasing him, then Nathan Pretty in the Smiths Trucks Commodore, a former Paul Morris-built Commodore. And Nathan has said that this is probably a bit of a different scenario. He's used to plugging himself in, Cam, to an endurance mode for Sandown and Bathurst where car preservation is critical. But in this sort of game, you've got to get on it early and get on it hard, don't you?
He's the experienced endurance campaigner. As we just have a look here, this is Pither's car. A lot of smoke coming out from the left front, so I'm not sure if he has had a touch in the early stages of the race. But Nathan Pretty has actually only completed a handful of championship sprint rounds or rounds outside of the supercar endurance races. So, you know, he's used to being in the car, you say, for an hour and a half, 2 hours, but probably not at the intensity of the races around here in Adelaide.
Great aggression there by Marcus Liddell as he moved up the inside at the final turn and makes the move successful by Chris Pither. How frustrating is this for Mark Porter, serving a drive-through penalty for that jump start, and all of that track position has gone.
Phil, Mark Porter got a drive-through. What happened?
They say he rolled at the start, but we'll look at the footage later and make up our own mind.
What did he think of that on the radio?
He wasn't very pleased, but they never are. So we'll look at it later and have a look.
Let's get your views on the replay of the start here, Cameron McConville. Difficult perhaps from that angle to tell.
It is very difficult, but you could see that he was on an angle and quite a tight angle. This one will tell us if you have a look. He moves very slightly, and he may have actually stopped before he removed again, but if those wheels cross the line, then that's a jump start, but there was definitely movement before the light went out, albeit very, very slight.
Marginal, wasn't it? Tony Evangelou has made the move by Shannon O'Brien. You perhaps recognise that livery of the 45 car, an ex-Larkham Motorsport Falcon, and his Uncle Charlie very much involved in this new operation. Jay Verdnick in behind. Then the car which qualified and performed so strongly in the opening practice sessions, an ex-Team Dynamic Commodore, entered by Mark Petch, the Kiwi, and being driven by the Trans Am or Sport Sedan ace, Kane Scott, but he's drifting back through the field, Cameron, so some dramas there perhaps. Grant Denyer chasing Wayne Wakefield.
Yeah, let's go on board with him. Oh, big rev on the downshift as he goes through, so perhaps just using a bit of engine braking to pull up. He must have had a big lunge. You could hear the back through the gearbox and a big rev, but cleanly through.
Pretty strong performance from Wayne Wakefield. As we take a look at the replay of Grant's move on the run down into turn 9, success there. But strong showing from Wakefield in the old AU. This is Mark Howard in the second of the Better Electrical entries, teammate to Adam Macro, and evasive action from Mark Porter.
Yeah, Mark Porter would have just rejoined and got up to the field and already had to avoid half a crash there. But it looks like Howard got on the inside and then tried to maybe get out of it to avoid contact, and unfortunately sort of spun on his own without any contact though.
Kane's been running also. Kane Scott also in the New Zealand Touring Car Championship. 72 is the second of the Smiths Trucks Racing Commodores, Nathan Pretty. And the best of the cars in that team at the moment. Liddell has had a spin on his own and perhaps just a little too aggressive across the top of the curbs, Cameron, as it rolled off the curb. Oh, he was sideways on the entry even. He was gone before it started.
He was. I think he just picked up the throttle a little early, had a bit of attitude, and the curb just really increased the attitude of the car, upset it, and around he went, you can see, and he got on the brakes there. So lucky not to slide backwards into the wall, but everyone has avoided him.
We'll sneak a quick break on our coverage of the Fujitsu Development Series from Adelaide. Stay with us. Still lots more action from Race 1 coming your way right after the break. Welcome back to the streets of Adelaide. Matthew White leads the way and catching some lap traffic as our coverage continues at the opening race of the Fujitsu Development Series. On the chase is Tony D'Alberto, and he's been banking some good times until now. A lose on his own, Cam McConville, and he can ill afford to do that in terms of the championship.
Some mistakes are creeping in now, and this is what, I mean, the category is the development series. It's designed for these guys to, I suppose, learn these sorts of things. One thing's driving these cars fast over one lap, and you've got to manage the tyre drop-off or tyre degradation. You've got to, learn how the track changes, and it's a longer race. 24 laps, is it? You can see it snapped very quickly, and I just think he carried too much entry speed. He turned in a little bit late to the corner, and I could even hear the tyre, hear that there. That's the tyre chattering across the road. So he's just carried a little bit too much entry speed. Perhaps the back of the car's a bit firm, a bit stiff, and he spun.
Hard luck for young Jack Perkins. Some sort of drama seems to be pointing toward the gear shift there. So maybe a selection problem, and our race leader is in as well. And we understand he has a gearbox problem of some sort. Matthew White, deeply disappointed.
I'd say what they're doing there, you can see the gear shift off, and it's actually probably jammed in between two gears. So they're just freeing that up, and then he'll go back out again. And that's Shannon O'Brien just running wide and touching the tyre bundle there, but he should be able to continue.
Let's see if we can shed some light on this situation with Matthew White. Mark?
Adam Wright, you're looking after Matty White's car. He was leading the race, but about 3 minutes in the pits.
Yeah, he got stuck in fourth gear jammed. That's all we can do, pull it out of gear and put it back, get him going again.
I was talking to Dick Johnson yesterday, Cam, and he made quite an interesting point. This time last year, the cars in this series were all carrying an extra 100 kilos. Jay Verdnick, I think that is, that's spun around at the top part of the circuit, the South Australian, are all carrying an extra 100 kilos of ballast by comparison to the Championship Series cars. But ironically, at a circuit like this, it actually, if you're able to place the weight in the right, position around the car, it can actually help with power down, can't it?
Certainly can, particularly with the amount of drive you need out of the hairpin and other places, but you also need good direction change here. Now, this is a replay, just lost the back end, same spot as D'Alberto, but he's really finished up in a very, very bad place there. Oh, it looks like we've got
Jeff Emery, I think
Emery in the Smiths Trucks entry there, trying to get by, so I'm not sure whether he's been stuck. Looks like Jay Verdnick's tried to do a spin turn, but hasn't quite executed that, and he's not quite, he's run out of room. There's Mick Quinn, team manager there, probably on the radio, just hoping he doesn't get nailed.
Mick, of course, looks after the high trans squad here of Verdnick, and we get this concertina effect, and that's what's happened to Emery. This will give... Oh, no, this is a big one. Marcus Liddell has gone off at turn 8. That's a huge impact with the wall there. Let's hope that he's okay. And that car looks like it's a throwaway. They've had some good success with this older AU Falcon. He seems okay. Now, how on earth has that happened? And was the safety car board already on display at that part of the circuit? Dick Johnson, his crew, the First Rock Home Loans team, looking on. Let's have a look at this. Oh, something's parted company with the left rear wheel there. In fact, it looks like it's the wheel nut. It's gone.
Well, there's the wheel. The wheel's now completely off. The question is that from the impact or was that leaving the car, as you say, Rusty, mid-turn? But it looked like something failed because he lost it halfway. Then it's overcorrected, fired him hard into the left, into the wall. And definitely that rear wheel, I'd say, has come off mid-corner. It's worked its way loose, whether he's tagged the wall or something. That car is not going anywhere. That is a massive crash.
That'll be it for the weekend. That's at real speed. Game over for Marcus Liddell after such a strong debut. Look at the way it's moved the wall, Cam.
That's a huge crash and quite a sickening impact, really.
Remember that Matthew White spent a number of laps in pit lane with that gearbox drama. He's in the queue there, but not vying for the outright honours at the moment. In second position in his debut. Brilliant performance by Michael Caruso as the Fujitsu air conditioning entry spins around. Rotten luck for Greg Smith. They've had a troubled build-up with this car, a test at Wakefield Park.
And Matthew White right up on the back of Denya now, but Caruso, for an inexperienced V8 supercar driver, I think he's doing a very good job.
This is another look at Greg Smith.
Just lost the back there on turn in to turn 1, perhaps carrying a little bit too much speed. Safety car restart, tyre pressures definitely drop and lose a bit of temperature in those rear tyres.
One very experienced engineer working on the Decena Falcon, Ron Turanak. He's been around for many years in motorsport in Australia. But Adam Macro is victorious in the opening race of the championship. Brilliant start for the man who was on the podium last year at Mount Panorama Bathurst, finished third. And he desperately wants to win the championship in 2006. Nice start, Adam Macro. Russo's second. Grant Denya, just by staying out of trouble and gradually working through the order, finishes an excellent third. First of the older model Falcons, Wayne Wakefield in the AU is fourth. Tony D'Alberto, first of the Holdens, in fifth place. Good debut also for Shane Price, the ex-go-karter, driving for Larry Perkins in 11th.
Yes, Ford's 1 through to 4 in the opening race, and just confirming the finishing positions of the New Zealand trio: Kane Scott 8th, Mark Porter 9th and Chris Pither 14th. That drive-through for Porter really did for his chances of getting away to a good start in this series for drivers looking for a break into the V8 supercars. A chance then for the New Zealanders to make up some ground in the second race on those tight and twisting Adelaide streets.
What's required to be successful in V8s? Adam Macro, race 1 winner and leading the championship on points. Mark Porter, was he hard done by? Pinged for a jump start in the opening race. Crept just fractionally, but it was enough and the officials were onto it. Dexion on board, the Kangalotas on board, Chris Pither, the youngster. He was the youngest ever driver to have a racing licence in New Zealand, now at the wheel of a V8 supercar. Race 2 underway. Little bit of tyre smoke again for Michael Caruso as he tries to gain some more experience at the start. And Denya and Wayne Wakefield have pounced. Wakefield up to second place already.
Wakefield's doing a great job this weekend in the older AU. Well, there's a spinner back in the pack. It's Mark Howard.
Shannon O'Brien, I think.
And Jay Verdnick, who'll be spewing with that. Their local was really looking for a strong result here in his hometown of Adelaide. He's been caught up in a first corner incident and very unlucky too.
Good surge forward by Nathan Pretty. He's had a strong start. You ride with Tony Evangelou there in the ex-FPR Falcon, campaigned by Jason Bright last year. The Dexion team now driving it. They'll do some more extensive testing with that car at Winton post this round. Michael Caruso on the chase now. He's in behind Grant Denya that you can see there. Tony D'Alberto as well. Through turn 8 for the first time. Remember, they're on cold tyres.
Talking to Nathan Preddy, he's reasonably confident in this race. He's got some better, fresh tyres for this one. He's left them till last, and I expect him to move forward through the field.
Few of them running wide down at turn 9 there. A passing opportunity at that point of the circuit. Kane Scott, so strong in the opening practice sessions, but that car for some reason is not performing as well as it was early in the weekend. Mark Porter picks up a position, now chasing Tony D'Alberto.
Very aggressive under brakes, fourth, back to second. Used a bit of the curb just to make sure there wasn't any contact. Now we're on board with Tony Evangelou. Into the chicane here, fourth or third gear.
There's Porter.
Yeah, Porter's going to have to go straight ahead, but nice one, nice move, and he's making his way back through the field. Still playing catch-up, really, after that jump start in race 1.
In recent seasons, Ford have been a dominant force. As we take a look at the high-shot replay of the start, Michael Caruso struggles off the line and drops back to 4th position, but it seems as though Holden are back with a vengeance this year. Tony D'Alberto, a new car, Paul Wheels' old car for Mark Porter, and that provides a little clarification on what transpired there involving Shannon O'Brien and Mark Howard.
Yes, it was a first corner incident there, and I say Jay Verdnick was the one that got caught up, but this is a replay out the back of Macro's car. You can hear just slipping the clutch a little bit there. Wayne Wakefield got an absolute blinder. He's able to squeeze through the middle. Michael Caruso jumped well, but then just into wheel spin, so a couple of things may have happened. Just dumped the clutch a bit earlier, a little bit too much throttle position carrying there off the start.
Shane Price, I think, in the background as well, trying to run with Tony Evangelou. That's the pass, though, from Michael Caruso. He picks up a spot, moving by Grant Denyer now. So the ex-Formula 3 and ex-champion go-karter is really on the march.
A lot of young karters in this category making a transition. I mean, they've been through Formula Ford, Utes, even other categories on their way to the development series. It's a massive step up. Shane Price doing a great job this weekend. Jack Perkins not much further back behind him. So there is a real stepping stone through to the top level of V8 supercars now in this country.
The Optimus Sport entry too, David Clark. He's another one who's been a national champion in karts for memory. So there's some youngsters stepping up here. And here's Nathan Pretty, finished 6th at Mount Panorama last year with Owen Kelly. Gee, that was a really solid showing from those guys. And Owen's been a winner in the Development Series races at Adelaide before.
That's right, and Nathan driving with us at Super Cheap Auto Racing again this year in the endurance events, Sandown and Bathurst. And this will be great for him. He's out there racing competitively in a national championship.
It may be a support act to the championship series, but what a show it is. This is the Fujitsu Development Series, round 1 from the streets of Adelaide. More right after this. Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series continues at Adelaide. What a way to open the 2006 championship. Michael Caruso makes a move on Wayne Wakefield. He is now up to 2nd position. D'Alberto forces Nathan Pretty wide. So there's lots happening here, Cam McConville.
Yeah, Nathan was right out over the outside of that ripple strip, and you have to concede. Well, but he gets back up the inside. So what happened there is Nathan actually must have hung in there, got the nose up, and he had the line for the next left-hander. So good gutsy move by Nathan.
And here's Mark Porter.
Yeah, straight down the inside. So I think he might have caught Nathan napping slightly there.
Nice work by Mark Porter, and he picks up a few positions in the space of just a couple of corners. Caruso may not be the best starter yet, but watch him work on that technique as the season progresses. Good racecraft at the moment, though. And he and the team that are with Jim Morton, the Decina Racing crew, they had that car well sorted. If you've not seen this series before, I guess you could treat it, Cam, in much the same way as the Busch Series, the feeder category to Nextel Cup in America. This is where the stars of tomorrow are trying to make a break. Like any form of sport, the pyramid structure, it's awfully hard to get a break into the A-League or the V8 Supercar Championship Series, but this is where the next generation are strutting their stuff.
No doubt about that. I mean, it's a national championship in itself, and it's got a fair amount of prestige about winning it because you're beating guys in equal equipment in V8 Supercars. Whoa, and Denya's just actually outbraked himself there. He's just gone in a little bit too deep. Had a brake lock up on the way in, and he's lost a couple of spots out of that.
That's all good.
it is a developmental series, but it is a national championship in its own right, and it's got a full field, and it's fantastic racing. It's great to watch, and these guys are learning a lot about driving a current V8 supercar.
Grant's on the defensive now, and that was all good for Wayne Wakefield and certainly for Mark Porter here.
This will be interesting when he gets down here because he's on the outside. He'll have to pull in back behind Wakefield. You could hear that Chevy working away up pitch straight. Will Porter have a look up the inside here? He does, but he's coming from a long way back.
Grant's under pressure at the same time from Nathan Pretty. Pretty's trying to defend from Tony D'Alberto as well, so probably didn't take the ideal line through that corner as we look at the replay.
He came in very hot. He actually just carried a little bit too much entry speed there, and the car would physically not turn on such a tight angle. Here's a big lock-up. Massive lock-up there. That's Adam Sharp, and the AU just went in very deep. Lucky not to actually clout that outside wall there.
D'Alberto carries more corner speed. You could see him setting up for turn 8. 200 kilometres an hour. Big rev by Grant Denyer on the downshift because he's defending and trying to pick up a position at the same time. D'Alberto is really on the march here.
Squeezed Nathan just a little bit there on the way out of the corner, similar to a previous lap, but he certainly had the inside line, so regained another spot. Now we're on board with Porter. He loves having a look down the inside here, and there he goes again. Wakefield's left the hole.
Oh, touch.
That's exactly what happens if you turn in. If you let the car up the inside, there's nothing you can do. You turn in, you're going to get someone in your driver's door.
Denyer's in with a slice of the action here. 3 of them. They cannot go that way into the centre chicane. Who will yield? Porter tries to take the line. Denyer's off to the inside. And Wakefield slots back in behind the Hydraulic Commodore. Look at D'Alberto. He's kept the line. So has Nathan Pretty. They both carried great speed through those first 2 corners, the centre chicane, and they are all over Grant.
Well, I had my hands over my eyes about here, Rusty, because 3 wide is not going to work through there. And Grant Denyer's lucky to actually get out of that with only losing 1 spot. Porter really had the ideal. You could see that he sort of ran over the flat part of the ripple strip, but Denyer has to go over the gravel, and they slowed each other's car speed up so much so that Nathan and D'Alberto close up. And there's Mark Howard getting a tap, got turned around out of the hairpin at turn 9.
You're in the heat of battle with Grant Denyer on the brakes and diving for gears on the down change.
Just snags a break there on the inside.
Oh, brief misshift, I think it was, Cam, and that may prove costly. Here's Nathan Pretty. And D'Alberto's in for a look as well at the final turn. Onto the front straight, and Denyer's gone. He's been tagged by Tony D'Alberto there. Now, the onboard is inconclusive. It'll be a question of how far D'Alberto was down the inside of Grant Denyer.
Well, it all started, he a few corners back, actually. He locked an inside tyre, was a bit slow coming out. We heard the misshift. He 3rd to 4th slowed his momentum up. Nathan got a run on him, and D'Alberto said, I'm going to try and get through here as well, and he's got a tyre rubbing on a guard there as well, so that could slow him up. But Denyer is stuck on that ripple strip. As you can see, stalled the car. He's trying to get going, but a real shame.
Tony drove last season with the Tasman Motorsport team at Sandown and Bathurst. His car, an ex-HSV dealer team Commodore. Pretty down the inside. All right, what's your take on that one?
Gee, that's a tricky one because Nathan was through, and then Grant started to turn back. He said, now I'm going to cover the line, and it was a last sort of option there for D'Alberto, who you can see the proof in the pudding there is he's got 2 wheels up on the inside of the ripple strips.
So Grant trying to wrestle some positions back here in Camerconville. We've heard word from race control. They have looked at that issue with Tony D'Alberto and Grant prior to the break.
Yes, there's going to be a drive-through penalty for D'Alberto. He's obviously got some damage on the front of that car anyway, and Denyer's going to try and do it again. He's actually run wide in exactly the same place. Look, he's all over the grass there, so maybe just got to readjust things a little bit. I think he's perhaps going in there a bit deep, or something's going wrong where he's actually locking the brake, but D'Alberto will serve a drive-through penalty.
I guess the thing for Grant is that there's Tony in the pit lane now, in fact, and the thing for Grant is that you want to try and salvage as many points as you possibly can. It's only a 7-round series. Good thing about this championship is it will piggyback a number of the V8 Supercar rounds this year. We take a look at the replay again of Denyer moving by Jack Perkins. There are a few standalone rounds like the next event at Wakefield Park. Here's Grant under brakes, final turn.
Well, he used a fair bit of the road. It looked like it momentarily locked the left front and then it locked the right front. So perhaps just carrying a little bit too much entry speed, or he does have a bit of a braking imbalance going on there.
Well, Nathan Pretty has been waiting, and now he tries to make the move on Wayne Wakefield. Contact between the pair of them. He was almost by, though.
He was definitely up the inside, and you can see the attitude of Wayne's car. He just turned down, and he probably didn't give Nathan quite enough room. I think Wayne wasn't so certain he was that far up the inside. You can see the B-pillar area is about the guide point. He's definitely level with the B-pillar, and he has no choice. You can see the flame out the side. He gets out of the throttle, but he's already committed to the inside. So a racing incident, that one, I would say.
In recent years, we've seen this youngster at the wheel of V8 Utes. He's come across from New Zealand. They claim he's the youngest ever driver to have held a motor racing licence in the world. Has been racing for the better part of a decade or more now, only 19 years of age. Shannon O'Brien, we saw this in the opening race. It's a bit of a trap, that corner, isn't it, if you get in too hot there, Cam?
It does come up on you very quick, you can say that for sure. Now, you had two lock-up marks there, so he's locked both fronts, and of course you lose steering and understeer straight ahead. But Macro's doing a great job. He's bounced back well this weekend from that incident earlier in practice, and he's in a league in his own. He's driving the car very clean, very smooth, but that guy behind him there, Michael Caruso, excellent job all weekend, some solid points, and he's going to be a threat in this championship, particularly as he gets a little bit more experience in the cars.
Jim Morton, the team owner, is the former Tony Kart importer in Australia, and he's stuck with this guy for many years. Gary Dean in the pit lane. The opening round of the championship will go to Adam Macro. He strikes first in the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series. Excellent effort by Michael Caruso. What a start to 2006 for the youngster. And it's great to have him back racing. And racing with a good team and a good car as well. He perhaps got a little jaded some years ago. It's not his first foray into V8 Supercars. It's his debut with that team, Michael Caruso. But here's Macro. He's been something of a journeyman since he won the Formula 4 Championship. A guy that's been a very solid enduro driver and wants to win this championship to let the guys in the main game know that he's still here. Caruso and Porter round out the top three in the second race of the weekend.
Yes, a good start for Adam Macro and for the Ford drivers who are filling the top three spots. Macro leaving Adelaide with a 10-point lead over Caruso. Best of the New Zealanders, Mark Porter in fifth place, conceding 50 points to Macro. Porter and Kane Scott, you may remember, shared a Holden drive at Bathurst last year, finishing 11th. And we'll be keeping tabs on Porter, Scott and Pither through the year in the V8 Development Series. Dean Canto won it last year. He has earned himself a drive in the main class this year. Next week, we'll have round 3 of the V8 Supercars from Barbagallo. It's a 3-race weekend. We have 2 races on OneSport Motorsport, and the third race will be highlighted on Sunday night. Russell Ingall leading that championship by 1 from Rick Kelly. Team Kiwis Paul Radisich, the best of the New Zealanders, in 18th place.